worth living in New York City? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about pros and the cons of living in New York City. One of the pros for me, for sure, is that living in New York City is definitely a foodie's paradise. There are so many restaurants here, endless restaurants, endless bars, always new spots opening up all the time. So if you really love food and really appreciate good food, this is the city for you. Another great thing about living in the city is you don't have to drive. And even if you wanted to drive, it's probably too expensive for you to drive anyways, so no need for a car, no need for a parking spot. All you have to pay for is your local subway. I don't want to say reliable because it's not very reliable, but I mean it's there, and the MTA costs about $2.75 per ride, and it doesn't matter if you're going like one stop or multiple stops, it's always going to be $2.75 every time you swipe. Another pro of living in New York City, if you're the type of person who likes to get deliveries straight to your door, almost anywhere you live in New York City, you should be able to have really fast and accessible delivery, like food delivery, Amazon deliveries. Those two are probably the main ones, and it's really easy, very accessible, and you don't really have to go outside if you don't want to. If you fancy having a late night snack at 2 a.m. in the morning for some reason, then you can just hop on out, get on the train, or walk to Joe's Pizza and get a slice of pizza. I feel like most suburban or most cities in the US, you can't really do that because the restaurants will likely close at that time. For me personally, I really like speakeasies. There's a lot of speakeasies in New York. If you don't know what a speakeasy is, it's basically a hidden bar, and there's a lot of really fun, great speakeasies in New York City that really give you a feeling of being somewhere that you really can't replicate anywhere else in the US. It's a very unique experience, and it's something that I would recommend if you are visiting New York to go to one of the famous speakeasies and try it out. I guess another pro of living in New York is that a lot of people are fairly young, and there's a lot of young energy in the city. I guess you can call it kind of chaotic energy, overwhelming energy, but if you channel that energy into your career or something that you're really passionate about, I feel like New York City is a great place to do that. It's a great place for you to grow, and it's definitely not somewhere that you're gonna stay and be bored for sure. Another pro is there's definitely a lot of career opportunities here. You can name it, you know, whatever job it is, software engineer, journalist, consulting, healthcare, like any area, film, music, culture. There's a wealth of jobs that are available here, and they're always looking for people to work. So it just makes it a great city if you are a young individual and you want to really advance in your career, you want to put yourself in an uncomfortable spot so that you can really push yourself to grow and have that career trajectory. I feel like New York City is the city to do it. Now I'm going to talk about the cons of living and working in New York City. So as much as there are great things about New York, there's definitely a lot of bad things about New York as well. And you can probably hear that siren. One of the cons of New York City would definitely be noise. It's definitely going to be pretty loud. There will be some noise everywhere you go, everywhere you walk. There's a lot of honking, there's a lot of traffic. Noise will become a part of your everyday life. Hopefully it won't be something that stresses you out too much, but definitely not the most peaceful and quiet city for sure. Another con of living in New York City, it can be pretty dirty, grimy. The subway systems have been around for years and years, and there are some stations that are better than others, have been renovated, but a lot of the subway stations are not that great. If you compare it with any of the subway stations in Asia, those definitely outbeat the New York City subway systems here. This weekend, I was trying to go somewhere on the Upper West Side, and I was supposed to take the 2 and 3 express train, and there was just like major construction happening on that train that you just can't take it. And I don't really know when that construction will end either, so I ended up taking the one local train. That's another thing about New York. You always have to be vigilant and know where you're going, and don't always have headphones in, even though I'm very guilty of this. Always look around your surroundings, make sure no one weird is like stalking you or following you wherever you're going, especially if you're a woman in the city. It can be dangerous at night if you go out at really late times. So just having common sense and being vigilant, being aware of your surroundings will definitely go a long way. Another con of living in New York City that I can't forget is living costs are extremely high here. Average rent for one bedroom in Manhattan this year were almost about $4,000. Living costs here are very, very high. Rent is high, food is expensive. Anything like getting a haircut, getting your nails done, gyms like fitness memberships, those can be expensive. A lot of money just like going out the door, like water. Finding an apartment here can also be a struggle depending on when you want to move. If you want to move in the summer months, which is when usually demand is super high and supply is very low, it can be very hard to find an apartment. And a lot of people say you have to be very aggressive if you find an apartment that you really, really want on Street Easy or something. Then you should probably email them, call them, leave them a message. You know, just be really aggressive and get what you want, or else someone else is gonna snatch it from you. Before living in New York City, I have never seen a rat or a cockroach of any sort. Those don't really exist in Texas, or at least in the area that I grew up in. So when I found out that it is actually a reality to live with these creatures in your own home, yeah, that's pretty terrifying. Like cockroaches, probably the worst creatures that have ever lived on the planet, and it's really hard to kill them too, because I heard that you're supposed to burn them. You're not supposed to just smash it with your boot, because you have to make sure that it's not a female, because if it's a female it might lay eggs, and ugh. Finding a place that is free of rats and cockroaches will probably be your #1 priority when you try to move here. Also, finding a place that has good heat and AC can be, I mean, it seems like such a basic necessity, right? Like, how can you live without basic heat and basic AC? But there are some units that literally don't come with that. Another thing is very basic things that I thought were not a luxury amenity, like getting a washer and dryer in unit is considered a luxury amenity here in New York. So if you have washer and dryer in your building, that's probably good enough. If your building has an elevator, that's also a big plus, because a lot of apartments in New York don't have elevators. Another big con of New York City is that it can be a very lonely and transient city, because a lot of people move here for their career or because they want to achieve something here. They don't really see it as a long-term place to stay. A lot of people say, oh, I want to live in New York maybe 2, maybe 3 years, and then really build my career, get what I want, and then just leave. Probably not gonna live here and get married here or raise kids here. Although there are people who are married and raise kids here, but some people, I feel like a majority of people are mostly in New York in their 20s, late 20s, and they really want to make something of themselves, build their career, be successful, climb that corporate ladder, do what you gotta do. And I am all for that, because I'm kind of like that myself too. I'm very ambitious, and I came all the way from Texas to New York to build my career, to be passionate about my work. But because there are a bunch of people like that, and a lot of people are like that, it can feel at times very lonely. And really great relationships that I have made here in the city, sometimes you have to be prepared for that person to leave and not live in New York after a year or 6 months or 2 years. I don't know. I feel like New York City is not a place where people want to settle, if that makes sense. It's more of a place where people want to grow aggressively and really get everything they want out of the city and then leave. Basically gave you a breakdown of all the pros and all the cons of living in New York City. Hopefully this video can give you a better sense, a very realistic sense of what it's actually like living in New York. Everybody has different priorities and things that they think are important versus not important. maybe this is the city for you, but if it's not, I wouldn't feel so bad about it. Let me know in the comments what you think about this video and whether you live in New York, whether you're thinking to move to New York, whether you hate New York, you love New York. Just let me know your thoughts.